Hey everybody, Smart Silver Stacker here. Hope you're doing well. Welcome to another live stream. This one's a little bit later than usual. Hopefully we'll be able to get some folks who don't normally get to pop into the actual live broadcasts in due to the different time. I got my lighting a little different than usual. Sorry about that. All right, so we're going to talk about a new gold standard, a new global gold standard, because it looks like that may very well be what we are headed for. A new global gold standard. What am I talking about? Well, of course, we've been hearing a lot about this BRICS gold backed currency, which may be manifesting itself here shortly. This is the headline from RT. This is their Twitter account, Russia Today. Now, of course, you can't take everything Russia Today says at its face, but certainly this is interesting. BRICS is set to introduce a new currency backed by gold in contrast to the credit-backed US dollar, with the decision coming a month ahead of the bloc summit in Johannesburg. With the growing initiative, more and more countries are lining up to join the group. And it's something like 41 countries now looking to join the BRICS organization. And I want to get into their motivations here. And also, I want to talk about how this plan for a global gold standard, it's not a new idea. This is something that many of the BRICS nations have been working on for some time. And I want to go into some documents which reveal some of their motivations. And I do just want to say a big thank you to everybody tuning in to the live stream. Please do smash that like button, help spread this information. And if you've got any questions or comments on the stories I'm covering today, please put them into the chat. So first of all, if you want to be like the BRICS nations who are hoarding gold, check out sdbullion.com. You can buy your gold and silver there right now. New customers can get gold or silver at spot by visiting sdbullion.com/new. And even if you are a seasoned stacker, you might want to take note of this deal. They've got a 1-ounce gold bar on sale for $40 over spot. So pretty good in today's market conditions of elevated premiums, if you ask me. So if you want to de-dollarize a little bit, head over there. Got a lot of folks in the chat saying hello, welcome everybody. Hi David, thanks for tuning in. Hi XAL from Washington State. Excuse me. Now, in addition to that announcement from RT, this was an interesting story. This is from Bitcoin.com, but I think this was originally reported by Press TV. But this is regarding the gold-backed currency, and this is a headline: BRICS gold-backed currency will benefit Iran, weaken U.S. dollar. This is a quote from an Iranian official. So, I mean, this is all stuff we've heard before, but just further confirmation. And the official in question here, his name's Rasul, I think I'm saying that right, I'm probably not, Rasul Musavi, Assistant Foreign Minister and Director General of the South Asia Department of Iran's Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And this is his quote. He said, "The BRICS introduction of a gold-backed currency, which is supported by 41 countries with large and influential economies, will weaken the dollar and the euro and will benefit countries such as Iran, while Iranians in possession of gold will experience a wealth increase." So, it sounds like maybe he's trying to sell this a little bit, perhaps domestically, in the sense that, hey, if you're holding gold domestically, you're going to benefit from this. But also, Iran is a country that has been subject to a lot of sanctions. They've been kicked out of the SWIFT system. So the idea of gold, for them, it's a currency which is much more difficult to sanction. They're not getting a lot of use out of the US dollar, so certainly beneficial for Iran. And they are, of course, one of the countries that is going to be joining the BRICS organization. But today I want to talk about China more specifically than Iran or any of the other BRICS countries. Of course, they're the C in BRICS, one of the original BRIC countries before South Africa was inducted into the group. And this is a headline from Market Insider. China continues to de-dollarize reserves as gold stockpile climbs for 8th straight month. And of course, this is a story that we've been following on this channel for 8 months now, since the end of last year. China adding to its official gold reserve, stacking up the shiny stuff. And hello to everybody in the chat there. Hi, Jason Taylor. Appreciate all of you joining this evening. Hope everybody is enjoying their summer. Hope everybody's getting their hands on some hard assets. Of course, nothing we talk about on this channel is financial advice, just giving you my thoughts on things. But I know we've got a lot of smart stackers out there watching, and I'm sure that there's a lot of individual de-dollarization programs in the works. But I want to talk about China today and their motivation for de-dollarizing because it's not a new phenomenon for the Chinese to want to get out of dollars and into hard assets. I mean, this is something that they've been working on for a lot more than 8 months. This is just the official numbers, these additions to their gold stockpile. So in June, they added 23 more tons. That brings their official holdings to 2,330 tons of gold in their official reserves. But we're going to get into how that number could be a little bit misleading in just a moment. But before we do that, I want to take a look at this chart from the World Gold Council. I think this is from the World Gold Council. This is Gold Hub. Yeah, this is the World Gold Council. Okay, so this is just a list of the world's top gold producing countries. So pretty basic information there, but you can see at the very top it's China, followed in a close second by Russia. So two of the big BRICS countries, they make the world's gold. They're the biggest world gold producers by a pretty long shot there. You got Australia in third, but then Canada with 194.5 tons. It's less than half of China's production. So, they're on the short list, absolutely. Yeah, get some folks in the chat there saying, Carl, he says, all the years China stockpiling gold. Yeah, they've been stockpiling it for a long time, and they probably have a lot more gold than they are letting on. Now, these are the official numbers. This is official world gold reserves. You can see the United States there at the top with 8,133 tons. Germany in the second place spot, and then Russia and China, they're in the top 10, but their official numbers are not that much. And then you also got India there, also managing to squeak into the top 10 there. And India, of course, one of the other BRICS countries, and now they have also got a lot of gold. I remember reading a report that said they had something like 25,000 tons probably held among the Indian people, just among the population as private wealth. So the BRICS nations, they have got a lot of this stuff. They make a lot of this stuff, and they have a lot of it. It's not just gold. I mean, they're very commodity-rich countries like platinum, for example. Russia and South Africa together make the vast majority of the world's platinum. They also make a lot of the world's palladium, but they have really got the platinum supply locked down. So, it's not just gold. It's very likely that this new BRICS currency could potentially be backed by a basket of currencies. Certainly the BRICS nations are set up in such a way in terms of their access to commodities and their production of commodities that doesn't just have to be gold that they're backing this currency with. And, we're going to have to just wait until the BRICS 2023 summit, August 24th. We're going to know more about this potential BRICS New World Gold Standard. And, I think it's quite likely that by the end of 2023, we may either have a new gold standard in place in one form or another, or at the very least, I think there may be an outline in place for the creation of one. This is not the sort of thing you put together overnight. However, should the world geopolitical situation devolve, if it should get worse, if an additional war should break out somewhere, if the war in Eastern Europe should worsen, things might move a lot faster than you might expect. And under normal circumstances, yes, things move slowly, like the global financial system, but in times of crisis, that can accelerate dramatically. I mean, there's plenty of examples of this within the past couple of years. Let's look in 2020. I mean, who thought in 2019 that the Fed was going to come out and slash rates, go to zero, print up trillions of dollars, expand its balance sheet, the largest way ever? I mean, nobody saw that coming, but it can happen overnight. And same thing in 2008. I mean, certainly a few people were calling that. Peter Schiff comes to mind. But that financial crisis, it caught everybody by surprise. So, don't be surprised if suddenly gold gets a lot more attention in the news. And, one of the side effects of this, if this plays out in a very big way, you could see the gold price spike up a lot if they're, trigger some kind of a mania or a significant interest in it. If you see inflation come in like a second wave to the US and the BRICS are working on this gold currency, I mean, this stuff could become a lot more difficult to get your hands on. It could become a lot more valuable, just like that Iranian official was saying. I mean, obviously, you got to take what's coming out of the Iranian Department of Foreign Affairs with a grain of salt, but there's something to what that guy was saying. Now, this report is a little bit of an older one, but it's an interesting one. This is the China Gold Market Report. And hold the tablet here so you can see this lovely gold cover to this report in this PDF. This is published by folks from the Shanghai Gold Exchange and the People's Bank of China. I'm not going to attempt to pronounce all their names, but these are the authors of this report. So this is official stuff from the Shanghai Gold Exchange and the folks who are dictating the gold policy over in China. And this is kind of a lengthy report, but one thing I want to draw your attention to here is the end of the document. I'm just going to read a little bit of this to you. It's in a section titled Analysis of Supply Factors, number 3, Imported Gold. Now, this is very interesting, and this gives you some insight into why China is acquiring so much gold. Because you got to keep in mind, China is not only the world's largest producer of gold, they have also been a net importer for some time now. And so, they're producing more gold than anybody else, and yet still that doesn't satisfy their demand. So where's all that gold going? How do they only have 2,300 tons of official reserves? Well, let's check this out. So this report says gold imported from abroad is a timely and efficient approach to fill gaps in China's gold demand. Given the growth of China's gold market demand, the amount of imported gold is also on the rise. Now, keep in mind, this is from 10 years ago. So, I mean, these are not up-to-date numbers. But the fact that this has been going on for more than a decade gives you some significant insight into their mindset here. The figure was 28.77 tons in 2007, surging to 81.4 tons in 2008. Okay, we're going to skip the rest of these statistics and get to the relevant part here. For a long time, China's gold production was used as a means of earning foreign exchanges, acting as a gold seller in the international market. So they're saying they would sell their gold they produced to get themselves dollars and other international currencies. You got Adrian saying, is this live? Yes, it's live, Adrian. Welcome. Hopefully you'll subscribe. I'm glad you stumbled upon this stream. And to anybody else tuning in, welcome to the live stream, the Smart Silver Stacker live stream here, the Stacker Nation. This is a great community. If you're new tuning in, welcome and glad to hear you. Listen up for why China is stacking all of this gold. So today, its position has been reversed into a gold importer, with its imports increasing year by year. In the current circumstances, such a role changing has positive implications, such as China's extraordinary foreign exchange reserves incurred increasing risks, and the increase in its gold imports serves to slow the growth of foreign exchanges to some extent. Besides, imported gold does not mean consumption of foreign exchanges, but an exchange of dollar reserves currently facing the devaluation risk into gold, which is a positive way to reduce the risk of extraordinary foreign exchange reserves. So that's the first point. Now think about that. Back in 2010, China, in this report, was talking about how concerned they were to be holding all of these dollar reserves, which had a devaluation risk. Now, they nailed that, because certainly the dollar has been devalued significantly since this report was written. But think about this. If this was their mindset back in 2010, a time of relative peace in the world, imagine how they're feeling today with the risk of sanctions. And I mean, there is an ongoing sanction economic warfare between the US and China. We've sanctioned their chips. We've sanctioned Russia's assets, we've frozen a bunch of their assets. We've tried to prevent Russia from selling their gold on international markets. We've frozen their dollar reserves. So, I mean, when China sees that, if in 2010 they were thinking that their dollar holdings were risky, how do they feel today? That is part of why they're getting into gold. Now, and this is in their own words. Now, this is another interesting point here that they raise. Increasing gold imports to meet the needs of the people is an effective means to reserve gold in the civil society, which is of significance in increasing the economic security of a country as well as its people. The current international climate, dominated by peace, sees free flows of gold around the globe. But at critical moments, each state normally tends to implement controls on gold. Therefore, it can be said that now is the best time to promote gold reserves in the civil society. So, again, this is very interesting that China views their people as a reservoir of gold, and they try to encourage their citizens to store wealth. It increases their economic security. Notice last time you heard a US politician talk about how if US citizens hold hard assets, it improves economic security, because of course it does, because these are inflation proof assets, they're sanction proof assets, they're assets without counterparty risk. They are real hard tangible physical money. Gold, silver, platinum, all of these things are valued and have been valued for thousands of years. And it's kind of disheartening when you've got something like the CCP, not my favorite organization in the world, but they understand sound money and they're promoting it. Whereas, in the West here, we're completely clueless. It's, something that the nice thing is that this is an actionable thing. You can go out and stack gold and you are increasing your own economic security. And, you can take a page out of the de-dollarization playbook here and get out of the dollar, which has the devaluation risk. But again, they point out that, and this is fairly prescient of them to say that, at the time this was written, it was a peaceful world, but at critical times, controls can be implemented on gold. And what have we already seen since the onset of this global conflict? Russian gold assets have been sanctioned. I believe that in the Western metals exchanges, the LBMA, the LME, all that stuff, Russian gold is banned, right? And so it was smart that they said, well, let's get the gold now. And, it's why they're continuing to stack gold to this day. Let's see what else we got here. So another reason they say that they are stacking gold. Well, this is just I'm gonna go on with the rest of the report here. Supply and demand in China's gold market is also full of challenges. First, there is a need for further integration of the domestic market with the international market, because the increased dependence on the international gold market requires improved synchronization between the two, and it will inevitably cause a practical need to follow the international standards. However, as a part of China's financial markets, the gold market, in its integration with the international gold market, must coincide with the country's opening up of financial markets, which will involve many aspects. And I think that this is likely what we may see with this BRICS gold-backed currency. They're going to perhaps liberalize some of these economies in the BRICS nations out of necessity. China exerts a lot of control over its economy. They've got capital controls and all this stuff. It's one of the reasons that folks say that the yuan isn't a viable alternative to the US dollar as a global reserve currency. And there's certainly something to that argument, but that's why, gold, I think, makes a better alternative to the dollar or than the yuan does, or any of the other fiat currencies. In order to pose a viable alternative to the dollar, it's got to be something better than just some fiat paper. And then the last part here, secondly, in advancing specific management, the reform of gold import and export management has been put on the agenda, the implementation of which should be accelerated. Given China's increasing dependence on the international gold market, the import channels should be further liberalized in order to ensure smooth movements. Now, notice they don't say export channels. They just say import channels. They want to make it easier to import gold into China. And this was 13 years ago. This report is from 2010. And so they have been trying to increase the amount of gold inflows into China as part of their official policy for decades now. And this is part of the broader de-dollarization agenda. It's kind of a trope to say, oh, the Chinese play this long game. But clearly, there is some element of that in the sense that they have been pursuing this strategy of de-dollarization kind of underneath the radar for a long time now, for years and years and years, decades and decades. And now it's just that as the geopolitical climate begins to deteriorate and the global markets are kind of falling apart, the globalization is coming to an end. We've got fifth generational economic warfare all around us. We got chips getting sanctioned. We got assets getting frozen. And they have been preparing for this time. And I suspect that, this BRICS meeting, this could very well be when they kick things into overdrive and they actually launch some kind of a gold-backed currency. Now, maybe not, right? It's possible that that's not the case. It's possible that this is all just a bunch of hot air, I suppose. But I think that when you have The BRICS organization basically telling us as much that they're going to create a gold-backed currency. I think we should pay attention. I don't think we should just dismiss this out of hand, as seems to be the the gut reaction of many financial analysts here in the West. I mean, they're just kind of dismissed as um, a hopeless endeavor. And I don't know. I mean, the idea that the dollar will remain the global reserve currency indefinitely when we've got, excuse me, $32 trillion in debt, when we have rampant deficits, when we have just out of control spending, and there's a lot less demand for dollars around the world. I mean, you can just look at the numbers. You know that foreign debt is declining. The amount of foreign holding of U.S. debt, that is on the downtrend. You can see that number over at the U.S. debt clock. There is the number right there, U.S. debt held by foreign countries. It's one of the few numbers declining in terms of U.S. debt. China has been dumping U.S. treasuries. We know that India, for example, they're another BRICS country. They have been working on these cross-border CBDC payments with many of their trade partners because of the dollar shortage brought on by the Fed hiking rates. You've got Iran, that Iranian official telling us that BRICS is going to implement a gold standard. Well, Iran, their central bank, with the Russian central bank, they've been working on gold-backed stablecoin digital currencies. We know that. We've known that for months. So, none of this is a huge surprise to those of us paying attention. But when you start to put the pieces together, you realize that there is a plan here to create a gold-backed currency of some sort. So that's pretty much all I got for you today. I'm going to go to the chat here before we wrap it up. Alan P says Yellen will save us. Yeah, Yellen, former Fed chair Yellen, current Secretary of the Treasury Yellen, Yellen is going to be selling a lot of U.S. debt, that's for sure, and I suspect that she may coordinate the purchase of that debt with the Federal Reserve, and we may see a lot of quantitative easing, but she's not going to save us from a gold-backed currency. In fact, I think that what the Treasury and the Fed are going to do is going to play right into the hands of these BRICS nations, unfortunately. And when that happens, the price of gold, the price of silver, the price of platinum, all of these hard assets, I think that their price, at least in dollar terms, is going to go up significantly. And, one of the pushbacks I get when I say, I like to stack hard assets to hedge against currency devaluation is people will say, well, yeah, but if your gold goes up in dollar terms, but the dollar is devalued, then you really haven't gained anything. And I say, well, yeah, that's the whole point, though. That's the whole point. I haven't gained anything. I haven't lost anything. I've just protected my purchasing power in hard assets, in gold and silver, stuff that's been money for thousands of years, has never gone to zero, not going to go to zero. In fact, maybe coming back as the global preferred currency for international trade, right? So that's what's coming, folks. Let me know what you think in the comments down below about the potential for a new global gold standard, because I think that it is a very strong possibility. And let's see, we got Stephen Brown popping in here. Love your channel, never chat much. Just wanted to say, while I am disappointed that record-breaking inflation has not skyrocketed gold and silver prices, I'm feeling blessed to accumulate more in the face of obvious new gold-backed currency. Yeah, inflation doesn't affect all asset classes equally. In the long run, I do believe that gold and silver are going to be effective inflation hedges. They always have been historically. And the fact that they haven't blown up their prices yet, despite dollar devaluation, I think is just a huge opportunity. We got Al Antosca saying, do you think SD Bullion will carry the new $1 trillion platinum coins? That's funny. I like that. Yeah, so he's referring to the plan that, the Treasury will just print or mint, I guess, a $1 trillion platinum coin. And then what? I guess the idea is you lend that out to the Federal Reserve in exchange for, $1 trillion, or how, I guess they need a $32 trillion coin now in order to pay off the national debt. But yeah, that's not going to happen. That is funny, though. That story seems to make the rounds every couple of months. Whenever the debt ceiling pops up, they always talk about minting $1 trillion gold coin to fix everything. And you just, I don't know. I mean, I've explained in previous videos why that Won't work. It would be nice if, we could magically fix things like that, but that's just not how things work. And if you were to actually do that, you would destroy the dollar's purchasing power, because it would be the same thing as if the Fed came in and bought up, $32 trillion of 50-year bonds with no yield. It's the same idea, same effect, and that could actually happen. I mean, that may very well be what ends up happening to solve the U.S. debt problem. But when that happens, it's too late. Too late to get your gold, your silver, your platinum at that point, because the price will be absolutely enormous. At least it'll be impossible if you're paying in dollars. Yeah. So anyway, thanks for watching, everybody. Stay tuned for the next episode of these live streams. There's plenty of stuff happening in the world. We're going to try do our best to cover it. Well, I say we, like there's more people making videos than myself. Just me. I'm going to try and cover it for you. So anyway, thanks for watching, everybody. Leave a comment down below. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And stay safe and happy stacking. I will catch you next time. Smart Silver Stacker out.